Well, a few years back, I was actually invited to be on the board, would I consider running, and I kind of said, do you need somebody? Because I don't like to run when there's somebody else, and as long as somebody's interested, I'm fine. If no one's going to take the position, I'm happy to take the position. So I was one of those guys that filled the position. Well, a few years back, Coach Schubert approached me during one of these ASCA conferences, and it was time for a new president, and Coach Schubert just basically said, "You're going to be the president." And he poked me in the chest, and he says, "You're going to be the president." And I'm like, I've got so much going on. He goes, "It doesn't matter. You're going to be the president." And he poked me. And so that's how I became the ASCA board president. And I guess the rest has been 3 years now. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen again this next year. It's up to the board. And if we decide that's the right way to go, I'm certainly happy to fill it. But if it's somebody else's turn, I'm certainly happy to step aside and let somebody else take the reins. But having a CEO like Jennifer Lamont really makes the job, I guess, of the board a lot easier. She's fantastic. She's found her legs, and she's just running with this thing. And for instance, I mean, this year's World Clinic, there's 850 coaches here in Las Vegas for this clinic. The energy is off the charts. A lot of young coaches. We've got a whole room full of coaches that are here for the very first time, never attended a World Clinic before. So Jennifer and her crew, the whole staff at ASCA, they're doing a great job. And honestly, it makes the board's role simply just one of oversight, and from a financial standpoint, and that's just doing great. As president of the board of ASCA, we've got a great board. There are a number of folks I lean on, and I make sure that the meetings are run. I'm not a Robert's Rules expert by any means, but I've learned how to do the motions and the seconds, and when there's a discussion on the floor, when to be interrupted, when not to be interrupted. We keep things on track. We keep things on task. Our meetings now are about an hour and a half long or so, monthly board meetings. They're all through Zoom. And if Jennifer needs something, she comes to us, she comes to me, and if it makes sense, we're pretty much going to say yes. And if it doesn't make sense, we probably won't. But I don't think there's been many occasions where we've said that's not going to make sense. So we just try to make sure things keep on track. But with Jennifer Lamont, it's pretty easy to do. Oh my gosh, me being a fan of the sport and what I like most about being here, first of all, my very first day on the board of ASCA, I get voted in, and within a half an hour or so, I'm in a meeting room, a small meeting room, and around this table is Greg Troy, George Block, Mark Schubert, David Marsh, David Salo, and Chuck Warner, and I'm like, the old Sesame Street, one of these things aren't like the other. Can you guess which one doesn't belong? And I'm like, why am I sitting? How can I be sitting here? And just today I was at a mentors lunch for the mentors program, and in this room is Bob Steele and Gary Hall and Rowdy Gaines and Greg Troy and Mike Llewellyn and Herbie Beam right there from Arizona State, sitting right next to me. And for me, it's you're amongst swimming royalty. And I stood up and I said, I'm 58 years old, but I feel like I'm 12. And it's a kid in a candy store. And the people here at the World Clinic, you can approach anybody and talk about anything, and they're going to be open to you. And it's just great connections. And honestly, they become lifelong friendships.